with my computer. Is that what you're saying?
You can play with your computer all you want. That's fine.
It'll be like all up in here. No,
everybody's going to see it, although we don't see any comments. So I don't know if anybody sees
nobody's
anything.
there. Well, that's good.
If they comment, hopefully they're nice about it.
I hope so. Please be nice. It's Friday.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so this is we're recording now. We're actually live on Facebook and YouTube. Hopefully on Conversations with Asha and Steve on its Facebook page now. And in our future broadcast, we'll be on Conversations with Asha and Steve YouTube, which would be great. But welcome to another episode of Conversations with Asha and Steve. I am Steve Harper, and with me as always is Dr. Asha Prasad. Asha, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Steve. Although I will say it's been a little bit of a challenge, technically speaking, for me today, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. What caused the technical challenges? It's Friday. It's 2:00 and you're in the Netherlands. I mean, it's happy hour. Did you see my post this morning? I'm like, hey, maybe Dr. Asha started her weekend a little early. Maybe that is why you were having the technical
I do have some water.
That looks like vodka.
I know. It's a really pretty water bottle.
Yeah. Seemed like a glass bottle to me.
They're making them in plastic now, Steve.
Yeah. Oh.
Which is not good for the environment. I realize this.
Yeah. So that's why you just keep refilling it with the gallon jug that you have. It's the glass.
Exactly.
No, I am not drinking alcohol, although I have coffee with amaretto flavor, but it's not the alcohol kind. So
is that what they don't call that? No, with amaretto, it's an Italian coffee. With, I think, whiskey, it's an Irish coffee.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I learn something every time we get on these conversations. So today we are pretty excited because we're actually recording another episode for the podcast, which I think we're kind of digging, but it puts a lot of pressure on us because we're on video now.
I know. It's like I have to focus. I have to make sure that I'm looking at you. Because like whenever you're just talking to somebody, it's like you're sitting there and you can look around and, so if I do that, excuse me, because I'm not doing the whole video thing.
I have to constantly remind myself I'm on there. So I'm not like, I do have to say, we got a really powerful comment this past week from a longtime listener to the podcast who actually tuned in when we went live for our last episode. And said that they just she said she totally dug the energy before because she could feel it in our audio version of the podcast, obviously. But she's like, when I saw you guys on camera, she's like, oh my gosh, you guys are just like two peas in a pod. And she's like, I really loved it. So I'm like that much bigger of a fan. So I really appreciate Cynthia telling us that because that made my day. And I had failed to tell you about it this week.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's really nice. I'm glad to hear that.
So we are going to talk today, and we're going to put you on the spot because because you are the health professional, right? So if I give health advice, take it with a grain of salt and maybe a shot of vodka. I'm just saying. But we're gonna talk today about something that had come up actually when we did the last live broadcast was a question that got posed after the show about some ideas and thoughts about how to deal with your health during this crazy time of COVID-19, not specifically around the virus, because I think that's been pretty well documented, the different things that you need to do to have to protect yourself as best as you can, but more or less, I think from both the physical and the mental health perspective. And this will, we'll talk about our coaching program towards the end. This is something that we want to spend more time with in terms of our client relationships, but and have conversations about that. But it was a great question from our listener about some of the ideas and strategies, and that's really your bailiwick. And so I'm really anxious to have the conversation because I think some of the strategies and ideas that you want to share are going to benefit me as well. So I'm here. I'm excited to absorb.
You're excited. I just wanted to say, you know what, Steve, I'm excited too. I just want to say good morning to Tina. I just saw the comment pop up.
Tina. Yes. I just saw. Hey, comments are working. Tina. It's
working.
Yes.
So good morning.
Tina is awesome.
Yeah, no, you know what? This came up after our last episode as well. And actually, you know what, Steve, I've been having a lot of conversations with people that have been wondering, like, what can I do? Because, there's a lot of talk out there about, okay, well, we just have to wait until there's a medication.
Yep.
Until there's a vaccine. We can't, and it's like this projected like out into the future, and we have to wait for something to be provided to us to take care of this. Now, but the thing is, I look at it a little bit differently, and I've been talking to a lot of people about it. It's like, okay, what can you do? Ask yourself, what can you do right now to keep
Yep.
yourself healthy and keep yourself, not only physically, but mentally too? What are the things that you can do right now? Because, I mean, just like, for example, taking vitamins, watching what you're eating, taking extra vitamins, taking extra minerals to help ensure that your immunity is strong. So
Yep.
that way, if the chance is there, if you were to get sick, I mean, we would do that with the common cold or with the regular flu too.
Sure.
Most of the time, though, with a common cold or just like the regular flu, we've gotten so accustomed to just getting it, just kind of accepting, oh, well, it's just flu season. But, not everybody, if that was the case, not everybody would get the flu or get a cold, right?
Yep.
I
Yep.
mean, it's one of those things that I think is really super important. Is like, what can you do now to help prevent that, like, from, possibly happening? So,
Absolutely.
I mean, what's your take on that, Steve? I mean, do you do that for yourself? Like, are you like a big, vitamin healthy eater? I know you're a healthy eater, but I mean, like, do you take vitamins? Do you do anything particular for your well-being, your immunity?
Well, I mean, I have definitely tried to be better about taking,
Mhm.
vitamins. I only discovered, I think, within the last year or two, after I had a health scare 2 years ago, that sort of the multi-purpose vitamins weren't exactly helping me, right?
Right, right.
They help the company that sells them, but they don't really help the patient. So I got really specific with a couple of deficiencies that I had, and so I try and take those on a regular basis.
Right.
And every day I'm trying to do something relative to that, just to kind of, keep that. And I have noticed, right, when I take it, I feel
Yeah,
like I have more energy. I feel like I have my
exactly.
immune system has been certainly enhanced or stronger because of it.
Right.
It's I don't know if, and I think probably a lot of people have this maybe question or concern. You go down
Mhm.
the vitamin aisle at any of your drugstores or grocery stores. I mean, there's just a bajillion
I
options.
know.
Maybe it would be helpful if you could tell us what are
Yeah.
some of the best vitamins to be taking during this time.
Right. Well, I will say this, and let me preface it with this. I mean, because I have done like tons of research on companies, and I work with certain companies, which I'm not going to mention here. But if anybody has a question about that, please message me or email me privately, whatever it is, and we'll get our
Yep.
contact information at the end. But you know what? Vitamin D3 is super important. Vitamin C is super important. Zinc is important. And also like taking a really good probiotic. Those are like my four like standard go-to whenever you're really wanting to build your immune system and keep your immune system strong. Those vitamins and those minerals, they actually help enhance more than just the immunity, of course. I mean, that's just one of the really great benefits. And especially right now, I've been advising a lot of my patients to really make sure, of course, try to get it through the foods that you eat. But right now, it's not such a bad thing as long as you have a good quality supplement.
Yeah.
And I like to take those separately because I'm with you, Steve. You know what? With the multivitamin, I'm not such a big fan of multivitamins, to be honest with you, or things that have like a lot of different stuff in it.
Yeah.
It's easy to take it, but most of the time, because of the way that they have to put the ingredients together for the body to be able to absorb it and use it, you have to have certain levels of each thing. And sometimes you're not getting enough of the actual thing that you really need the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but I definitely, those are like my four like go-to strong things. If anybody has any questions seriously about any, companies to recommend or anything, I can definitely share that with you. Just email me and I'll be happy to share that with you.
Absolutely. Well, and one of the things that I think that I run, excuse me, I run into with regards to vitamins is,
Mhm.
and maybe you can shed some light on this, is
Mhm.
when you look at the variety, and we don't want to
Mhm.
call out any particular company names, right? Because
No.
nobody's paying us sponsorship money to do that. So, I mean, if you want to be a sponsor, feel free to be so. I'm totally kidding, but no, we will take your sponsorship money anytime. But they have these different I don't know, like IBUs and, these different, how
Yes.
do you know how much of what you're supposed to be taking? Do you need to go to your local, general physician and get blood work and see where your deficiencies are, see what your issues are? Or can someone just start taking those? And then at what levels do you recommend to start if you were just seeing a patient for the first time?
An excellent question. I mean, one of the things I do recommend for people, and hopefully they've got a medical doctor that's open enough to do it, because I know like here where I am, they are not so open. Sorry, I have to admit it. If those
Yeah.
of you that are listening from locally, it's true. I mean, they like have to have a really, really good reason. I even ran into a problem with that actually when I first came here. I went to the medical doctor because I wasn't feeling well. Like I'd been here for about 9 months or so.
Yep.
And I was like, what is going on? And the climate is really different here. And I went to the doctor and said, I think I want my vitamin D to be checked because I'm pretty sure that's getting on the low side. Like I just felt like all these different symptoms. The doctor here said to me, you just need to work less. That was, she didn't want to do a blood test. And I'm like, well, that's nice, but I still want my
thanks for that. That's helpful. Woo!
So she wouldn't do it. And it just so happened that I had a trip planned back to the States at that time. And I got my old doctor to check it. And I was so deficient. I was really, really low. He's like, get in here. I need to give you an injection. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. What's going on?
Yeah.
He's like, you're too low. He said, Asha, he said, I don't know how you're functioning. So that's why I say, I hope that you have a medical doctor that's open enough for it. If not, I know that there's plenty of private clinics privately that you can do and companies that you can get that tested. But what I would say, people can take it. So like, for example, with vitamin C, if you start with a supplement of anywhere from 250 to 500 milligrams, that's usually okay to do. And it's going to help really boost your immune system right away. It's not too much. Vitamin D3, definitely. Everybody needs to be taking this, just about everybody, I would say, unless you work outside, like, 365 days in the year, anywhere from 2,500 to 3,000 international units.
Oh, wow.
A day.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, Steve, that's interesting about that. We are, even though, like, even in Texas, okay, I know the sunshine's a lot. I mean, here we're having a lot of sunshine, but we're not outside enough to get the recommended dosage. I mean, on normal days, right?
Yeah.
In the weekends, we're outside. Then you don't have to take it because you're getting it every single day. But normally, I mean, we're sitting inside in our offices, and people aren't getting out enough. So, but that is one that you can definitely get your doctor to check. And I'm pretty sure, people that are really tired or have like achy joints, achy muscles, different things like that could be signs and symptoms that your vitamin D level is low. So
well, it's kind of funny when my health scare came up and they did the blood work there, it was like almost negligible that I had like the reading on that. And so that was like an immediate thing that they had me. In fact, actually they prescribed me something that was a little bit more heavier dosage, I guess, for a short
like
period.
About 5 or 10,000, something like that.
Yeah. And, but what a difference it made actually, in terms of, that was one of the things that I noticed was, my achy back and, I was very athletic as a kid and I still play soccer. So I have a lot of bumps and bruises and soreness because of those kinds of things and that have carried on. And, the doctor that I go to said, well, that deficiency probably had something to do with the fact that you never stopped being sore all the time. And so once I got those levels kind of, leveled out, so to speak, I was able to kind of feel much different in terms of that. That's a really good one for people to figure out. Obviously, in today's environment, nobody wants to go where they might get an exposure to the COVID virus and, going to your medical clinic or to your doctor's office right now, even though theoretically it should be the cleanest place on the planet for you to go and safest. You could be a paranoid freak like me and be like, I don't know if I want to go get my blood work done, so it's helpful for you to share those minimum levels because I think that that's really good for people to say, hey, at least at this point during this time, this is a good place to start. And then when things kind of level out a little bit and you feel comfortable to go back and maybe go to your GP or go get your blood drawn so that you can get your levels tested, that at least get you by in the interim, right?
No, exactly. And you know what, Steve? I do want to mention it's an Austin-based company actually that has some great, I don't know if you've ever heard of Everlywell.
Mm-mm.
They're an Austin-based company, and they've got great home tests that you can do.
Oh,
I mean, I'm
wow.
pretty sure you can get them in Walmart. Again, you can get them online. First of
Okay.
all, you definitely don't want to be going to Walmart right now
Yeah. Yeah.
or Target.
Tell my wife that. Yeah.
But you can order it online. Now, I know that they're on the pricier side, but they're very good tests. Like they're very accurate tests. So I agree with you because not most of us don't want to go out to certain places right now. So anything you can do at home, anything is the best way to go right now.
So I have to ask this question on a personal level because I
Okay.
know my wife will want me to hear it from a medical professional. But taking 3x of whatever the daily recommended, if you're feeling crappy, that's not a good thing to do either, right?
No. You know what, Steve? Here's the thing. Okay, here's what I'll say to you.
Yep.
Is that if you are like, for example, when we were talking about the vitamin C, okay? If you're starting to feel like a little bit under the weather or whatever, you could bump it up to 1,000 milligrams just like for a short time.
Okay.
But to do that on a regular basis, it's not a good idea. Like it's better that you can just kind of keep things kind of steady. And
Yep.
that's why I say, prevention is always, always better than trying to
Absolutely.
cure something. I mean,
Yep.
it just is. So if you'll just build it up, it'd be better. But I do say that like during times whenever you're not feeling too well, like you're starting to feel like that cold coming on, it's okay to kind of give yourself a boost with like more vitamin D, more vitamin C, zinc. Some people take echinacea, these kinds of things in like like a burst for a couple days. That's okay. But I wouldn't be doing it maybe as much as you are, Steve. I don't know.
Yeah. And yeah, so she's going to be glad you told me that. And I promised to listen, sort of.
Yeah. Were you listening?
And apparently you cannot get your daily amount of vitamins in a beer. I thank you for pointing that out to me. I know there are some health benefits to the beer, but not to
It is
get
water, I guess, sort of.
Well, to switch gears a little bit, I mean, one of the things that we talk about on this podcast is looking at the broader picture of whatever conversation we're having, right? And so,
Right.
having those, supplements, the vitamins that you need to take, that's one thing. What are some of the other things that you find you're advising your patients during this period of quarantine and I know a lot of countries are starting to open back up, but a lot of us are still pretty much staying at home and trying to keep that physical distance, which I think affects kind of our mental outlook and perspective as well as our physical outlook. I talked to somebody just this week on a different stream, and he was saying, I've probably put on 20 pounds since this thing started because he's like, not only do I not go out and do anything, but you're now working from home. And so you're 15 feet closer to the refrigerator than you should be. And so people are really struggling with that a little bit. So what are some thoughts around that?
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to somebody the other day. She hadn't, haven't seen her in a while, and I was 6 feet apart whenever I saw her. But she was like, Asha, I'm dealing with this COVID belly. And I'm like, COVID belly? What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, okay, got it. You know what? It's true. Like moving every day, whether it's you're walking, if you can walk, maybe in your house, up and down the stairs, whatever it is, if you can walk outside, it'd be the best thing to do. Take a walk, get yourself moving, at least give yourself 15 to 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's super important because we're all, been inside. And it's true. Like if you've got your computer set up and you're working from home and you're like right next to the kitchen, very easy to go in there and say, I want a little snack. I want to drink something else. I want to eat something else.
Yeah.
So like really try to have yourself on a time schedule. Like, like real, and even though you're not in your office and it may look different, like set up something to where it's like, you're kind of on the same time that you would be at the office because you wouldn't do that in the office. So I think that that's really important. I know it's kind of tough because some people are working. I think we were talking about, Steve, like people are working like at the dining room table right there, like literally right next to the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that if you really have that mindset of like, okay, now I'm at work. I'll tell you one other thing, Steve, and I know you may be like, Asha, I'm not doing this. Dress up as if you're going to work. That means for you, Steve.
I wore a shirt for you today.
But
I don't have pants on, but
No, you know what I'm saying? Like
I
dress
have
the
shorts
part.
on, just to be fair. Just I don't want
Oh my God, Steve.
you're as red as my shirt right now.
Oh man.
See, you wanted to do video. There you
I
go.
know. Now I'm like, I don't know. No.
But preparing yourself as if you're going into the office.
Exactly. Exactly. I think that helps because then it gets you in the state of mind
Yeah.
that like, okay, I'm at work now. So even though the kitchen's right there, you're going to be able to keep focus. I really think that helps. But getting moving is really important.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. A tip I gave one of my coaching clients recently that was really struggling. They were doing a lot of business development calls,
Hmm.
that weren't going really well. And he was like, I don't know if it's necessarily like that I'm not at the office or I don't have that vibe, but it's just weird.
Right.
I said, well, how many, these meetings that you're doing, like Zoom calls or, phone calls or
Hmm.
whatever, I said, do something, not only do you dress for the part, that I
Hmm.
think that is important. How you would dress or how you would present
Right.
yourself if you are, going to see them live and in person, like we used to do in the old days, before
Yeah.
COVID. It's going to be BC, right?
Mhm.
But I said, look, I gave him a similar tip about dressing like
Mhm.
you just suggested, but I also said, go brush your teeth because it
Yeah.
actually gets you in that work,
Yeah.
work mode. I'm prepared. I'm ready. Like,
Yeah.
you've got this like fresh start kind of to that conversation. And,
Exactly.
um, he called me back a couple days later and he's like, oh my God, totally made a huge difference. He's like, I
Yeah.
don't know if it was just a mental shift or my confidence
Right.
level got boosted, but he said my conversation started going better. I felt a little more confident
Good.
in what I was projecting to the, prospective clients. And he said it made a huge difference. And so those things
That's
do,
great.
just the
Yeah.
little alterations of our daily habits can make a huge difference, right?
It's true. And you know what, Steve? I know we talked about this a long time ago about daily routines.
Yep.
I mean, this is part of it. It's about getting yourself prepared for whatever's coming, on your day. And we do this whenever we leave the house to go to the office. So why wouldn't we do that when we're at home? It's one of those things. That's a great suggestion. Absolutely. But those
Absolutely.
are the little things that are really, really, really mean a lot.
Well, and you had mentioned movement being so key. And one of the
Yeah.
things that I suggest to all my clients, and I know you and I have talked about it, is trying to have walking meetings, even if you're
Yeah.
at your house, walking outside, walking back in, walking,
Yeah.
around the neighborhood as you're taking a call. Obviously, it's a
Yeah.
little bit more challenging for the people that are on Zoom. I was on a Zoom call like 2 weeks ago, and the guy was out walking with the video on it.
No.
Distracting. So I would not recommend that. You might get kicked from your meeting, but I do think that there is some value and I always tell people if back in the old days, BC before COVID, we could actually get together and we would actually do a walking meeting. I had so many people
Yeah.
that were trying to grab time on my calendar and be like, hey, look, if you want to do that, hey, let's go out and have a walk on the nature trail. There's something about movement and just
Yeah.
innovation and sort of that creativity that tends to happen when you're out there doing it.
That's true.
So even though we're physically distancing from ourselves right now, doesn't mean that you can't continue to do it. Take that call outside, walk around
Yeah.
the building, walk around your house, walk around the neighborhood, something like that.
Yeah, that's true. I love that. I love doing active meetings, actually. I think that it kind of gets the creative juices flowing a lot better, and you're much more relaxed, actually. Much more relaxed. I find it very relaxing.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I think a lot of people are struggling with is,
Mhm.
uh, and we've talked a little bit about this in our prior episodes, but
Mhm.
feeling isolated, even with your
Mhm.
significant other or your family,
Yeah.
signs of sort of the mental depression, mental concern,
Yeah.
what are you seeing with your patients in that? And how are you suggesting that they be aware and cognizant of the different thought patterns that may be coming up
Yeah.
or kind of when they're starting to get into a funk? And then what do you recommend to get them out of it?
Yeah, that's a big one, Steve, because I mean, I've been talking, to patients in the practice, but also clients in my online, and it's been interesting to see like what's been coming up. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of
Yeah.
anxiety, and like you said, like close to, depression, like, oh my God, what is going on? So one of the things I always suggest to them, first of all, if they don't have a meditation, some sort of meditation practice or some sort of kind of mindfulness practice to where they can really kind of tune in when, give themselves 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And now, and we kind of do have more time on our hands, meaning we can plan our time. So if you can plan that time to, listen to some beautiful music, give yourself like some distractions of like, just to kind of clear the mind. So that way, those negative thoughts, those like desperation, anxiety, all these things, you kind of, I guess you kind of transform that energy. You kind of like move your focus to something else. And even if it's for 10 minutes a day, you'll already start feeling better. Also, journaling is one of the things that I love to do because it gets it out of your head and just write it down on paper or type it up, whatever it is, just to kind of empty your mind as well. But that's a real problem right now. That's a big, big issue for a lot of people having major anxiety and fear and a little bit low, so it's a big problem.
So I'm doing my best to kind of try and keep up with everybody that's joining in the comments that we've got going on. But Tammy actually said that she's kind of found her way back to her journal during this period, and I can say the same. I always start the new year with the purpose of journaling. I'm going to do it. I'm going to make it part of my practice, but I really never do. And so this process has actually helped me sort of get some of those thoughts and some of those worries out onto paper.
Exactly.
And then when you do that and you kind of set it aside and you come back to it tomorrow or another day and you look at it, you realize in the moment it seems super extreme and super scary or super depressing or frustrating, whatever the case might be, whatever those emotions are at that moment. There's something really good about that release and getting that on paper. And then coming back to it later and you're kind of like, that ghost or that, scary monster doesn't look nearly as scary right now because the attitude and perspective is shifted. Hopefully you've done a few things to change up your environment or your day so that, your outlook looks a little bit more important. But I think those things are pretty key. I know another buddy of mine had mentioned that he wasn't very physical before COVID. He had a gym membership. He was, he'd go occasionally, but what he's actually forced himself to do every single day is now get out and actually take those longer walks because he has the time. Great. So the time that he normally would have been commuting, he's actually turned in, and he actually has quite the opposite of, a situation we talked about earlier, which is, he's eating better, but he's also moving a lot more than he normally had. And so he's trying to fill that space, what would have been normally his commute, with physical activity, which he's starting to see the results of that.
That's a great. That's so great. You know what's interesting, Steve? I was talking to somebody yesterday that was telling me, now, the Netherlands, we cycle a lot. Like we're biking everywhere. Now, like a lot
it's like a law. You have to have a bike there, right?
Yeah,
does everybody get a bike when they're born, or
I think they do.
Like government issued or something?
Automatically do. What's interesting is that most bike shops and stuff are sold out now because people don't want to be taking public transport. They don't want to be taking the trains because trains and buses and everything like that it just is very, very popular here. And so people are, which I think is awesome because then you get your exercise in at the same time. Like that's such a great, that's a positive thing. That's good for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, it's kind of funny. I've stood in line at the grocery store a couple of times during this whole situation, but not as much as that, I think other areas have dealt with. But the two places that I've been that I've stood in line the longest was the bike shop. Because I've been on my bike a little more. My kid, my son's been using my bike, and when he uses it, something gets broken, so flat tire or something. And so we've had to take it, by a couple of times to get some things. And that's, everybody's doing it, right? Everybody, in lieu of getting out and getting in your car, people are hitting the trail or utilizing those bikes a little bit more. So, probably not to the extreme that you see over there, because that's like a big thing over in the Netherlands. But
I mean, you know what? Here's the thing. Bikes, like if there's ever a traffic, anything that happens, the bike is never at fault. Never.
Really?
Yes. So that tells you something.
That does. Well, so as we get close to wrapping up, I mean, are there any other ideas or strategies that you might suggest to anybody that's tuning in? For everybody that's maybe new to this, just so you know, Asha and I do this Conversations with Asha and Steve podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbeam, pretty much wherever you can get your podcasts. And thanks to Asha, she talked me into doing these now on video. So this is our second official podcast recording. I'm not sure I like seeing you. I would just like to have a stand-in for me, wherever the camera is. But we do this podcast because Asha and I are very committed to having fruitful conversations and engaged topics that we think benefit you, no matter where you are. You could just be trying to improve yourself personally, professionally. Business leadership, entrepreneurship, all these things are things that we talk about. So we encourage you to go back and check out our episodes. But I wanted to share that because I think that, it's important for you to know kind of why we're recording this and kind of putting it out there.
Right.
But Dr. Asha Prasad is the master when it comes to understanding health and staying on top of what you need to be focused on for, just not only your physical well-being, but your mental well-being. And so I'm so grateful that I get an opportunity to have this conversation. But that's why I'm asking you the questions, because you are the subject matter expert here. You heard my health recommendations earlier, drink more beer. That apparently is not a good recommendation. So
not the best, Steve, but it's
Kelly just said drink more wine. So, I mean, Kelly and I are probably in the same category.
Those are antioxidants. Hey, you know what? Wine, I could say.
Wait,
you get
wine?
a lot more antioxidants. See?
What? Beer's good too. But anyway, I digress. So what are there any last ideas or strategies you think that you want to share with the folks that are watching or listening to this?
You know what? One thing I will say is that no matter where you are, like if you're somebody who has not been like conscious about your health or well-being in any way, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it is, it's never too late to start, and start small. Don't beat yourself up. Don't say, okay, I'm going to run 5 miles and I'm going to don't do that to yourself. Like start small, and every little step that you take in a positive direction benefits you in every way, in every possible way. So that's something I would just like to leave with, for people today that are joining us. And
absolutely. That's a great piece of advice. And every step forward in a positive direction is a win. So I think that, like you said, don't beat yourself up. The progress comes in small efforts, right? The small actions that you take accumulated over a period of time. And so I think that's super critical. Yeah. So Asha, tell people how they can learn more about your work and all that you do.
Yeah. So you can go to my website, theprasadmethod.com. And you can visit my website and contact me through there. You can learn more about what I do. I do a lot of coaching, one-on-one coaching. I do some group coaching. I have some programs to help people get more aware, more conscious in their life and in their business.
Yeah.
And and I'm pretty much on all social media platforms at the Prasad Method. So definitely reach out.
And awesome. Hey, well, but before we do that, so Kelly Ann joined us and she said she loves the video cast and she suggested amaretto. That was good. And then Tina said, don't be drinking beer only if I want that COVID belly. So apparently, don't do that. And then Nancy just joined us. She said, great tips. Thank you. We appreciate you. Everybody that's been on today. I mean, we've had quite a few people watching. We really appreciate this. It's certainly, great to see everybody. It's super distracting for me because I'm trying to keep up with, all these different screens, and I'm not an expert. So, we need a producer, Asha. That's what we need. Somebody that's going to run this thing for us in the background so we can just do our thing. Although I think people really just want to hear you talk. So
I think they want to hear you talk, Steve.
I could be like Sideshow Bob for your, we could probably change up that show title. Conversations with Asha and Sideshow Steve. All right. So, the Prasad Method, and people can find me, see if I can put my thing up there, ripplecentral.com. You can find me on most social networks at Ripple On. We really appreciate everybody that joined us. Hopefully leave us a comment. Let us know if there are any areas or conversations that you'd want us to talk about in the future. Oh, before we leave, we should probably talk about our coaching program. Just throw it out there. it's not a big deal, but something we definitely want to share with you. So Asha, why don't you tell them about it?
Yeah. So Steve and I have decided to join forces in offering a coaching program, Mind, Body, and Business. And it is for anybody. It's for entrepreneurs, business people, even if you're not an entrepreneur, even if you don't own your own business, you're making some changes in your life, personal life, career-wise, professionally. And what the program is that you're going to get coaching sessions. You're going to get 6 total coaching sessions plus 1 bonus one, 3 with Steve, 3 with me. And then the bonus one, it'll be with both of us. And we're going to be able to help you, take you, over a 6-week period through these areas of mind, body, and business to help you actually really look at where you are right now and see where you want to go and help you get there, help you get a good strategy, and to be able to assist you. And one of the things, Steve, I wanted to say this about this is that I had somebody this past week, ask me about the program, and they said, well, what if I just don't know what I need? And I said, that's okay too.
So you're like, start with Steve first, because he doesn't know what he needs either. So that's a perfect reach.
So, it's okay. I mean, working with a coach, the benefits of working with a coach are just immense. And a coach is there to help you find your way and help guide you along the way. So it's completely okay if you don't know where you are, it's okay. I mean, we can work. Steve and I have both had many, many years of experience of working with a variety of people in different sectors, different backgrounds. And so we really look forward to, and this is a fun project for us to be able to come together and work with people. So Steve, you want to mention where people can find out more information about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the bottom of your screen, Conversations with Asha and Steve, and then we have a link right smack in the middle of the website that says, hey, check out the program. So you go to the program, it's $316 through the end of June, I believe, and then that price is going to go up, but we have lowered it dramatically from what Asha and I normally charge for our coaching clients, way down, to make it a little bit more affordable during these really unusual times. And so definitely check it out. We're scheduling clients as we speak. And so we'd love for you to check it out at Conversations with Asha and Steve and click over to the program and see what it's all about. We also have kind of a 30-day money back guarantee. If you're not happy with your session with Asha or with me, and you just don't feel like the program was what you thought it was going to be, that's okay. We're not, we recognize that, it may not be everybody's cup of tea. I think it will be, but I mean, just in case, we offer back that, no questions asked money back guarantee. So, I mean, you cannot beat that. I mean, it's pretty awesome. So anyway, we definitely appreciate you tuning in to Conversations with Asha and Steve. We really, really appreciate everybody that participates in these live sessions and all the comments and all the people that gave us thumbs up and likes and all that good stuff. We really appreciate that. We will continue doing these on video, I guess, if the masses call for it.
If you're up for it.
I like going back to just the audio, because then I'm, although it's easier to have a conversation with video. I mean, to be perfectly honest, I mean, we've talked about that, but it's not that you and I could talk for hours, so that's not a problem recording our content for our podcast, but there is something a little bit more authentic about seeing your face and you brightening up at least part of this broadcast. So
Steve, you brighten up too. Come on.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks. For my ego, that definitely helps. I appreciate it. Well, listen, you have a great rest of your Friday. It's in the afternoon over in the Netherlands. Yeah. You're lucky. We're just now starting our day here. It's early, Asha.
You have the whole day. You have the whole day to do awesome things.
That's right. It's going to be Friday, and it's going to be a good Friday for everybody. So, we definitely hope everyone has a good one, and we appreciate you tuning in.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. Till next time.
All right.